Sutra, Action Log Beauty. We strive to do everything well and beautifully, and then it will start to be pleasing. Even the most unpleasant task can be loved if done well at least once. It is unlikely that we are wrong in assuming that there are some tasks we have disliked since childhood. For example, organizing things in a closet, filling out forms, answering letters, or calling unfamiliar people. If this negative attitude was triggered by a particular incident, it can be attempted to be corrected. Memory is strangely structured, it records both what actually happened and what we imagine. The brain doesn't distinguish between remembering the real and the imagined, and this is the basis for many psychological practices. In NLP, for instance, there is a technique for forming a new personal history. In a semi-trance state, a person is asked to vividly imagine that an event that caused them, say, to stutter, actually happened differently. And this is repeated several times. Later, when the brain starts accessing memory, it will encounter multiple versions of the same day in its vast library, like books with identical covers or files with identical names. What will happen as a result? It is the same as when, for the 100th time entering a PIN code, we suddenly doubt it. A centipede, if it thinks about the next step, will stumble. A person who stutters might forget that they started stuttering at some point, and the new personal history will replace the old one. Meanwhile, we might continue to confuse this PIN code for the rest of our lives. No external charm can be complete if it is not enlivened by inner beauty. The beauty of the soul spreads like a mysterious light over physical beauty. Victor Hugo. But what about situations where a particular activity initially causes us aversion, and its execution is not just burdensome but overtly unpleasant? Simply rewriting the history won't work here. The outstanding ancient Roman Stoic philosopher and statesman Seneca advised shifting the focus from performing an unpleasant task to how to perceive it. Much of what torments us is more than necessary, much is before it is necessary, and much is contrary to the fact that it should not torment us at all. We either increase our suffering ourselves, invent it, or anticipate it. Typically, we attribute the source of unpleasant tasks to other people, as they are the ones who make us do them. However, we should do things primarily for ourselves, not for others. If we are satisfied with what we have done, we will be able to convince others of it as well. As Seneca advised his friend, let us do everything to live better than the crowd, not against the crowd, otherwise, we will repel and drive away those whom we want to correct. Out of fear that they will have to imitate us in everything, they will not wish to imitate us in anything. This is exactly what we will achieve. It is not so important what you do, as it is important how you do it. For the task that initially seemed unpleasant, it turns out to be so only until you start doing it in your own way, putting all of yourself into it. And then, what you will enjoy yourself is likely to be enjoyed by others as well. The famous German philosopher Immanuel Kant asserted that beauty is a matter of personal taste. Of course, only the tastes of geniuses, according to Kant, are shared by everyone, but often in life it is enough for our tastes to be shared by our surroundings at home, at work, in social circles. In character, in manners, in style, the most beautiful thing is simplicity. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Do good and expect good. By delivering aesthetic pleasure, beauty elevates a person to the divine and spiritual realm. If a person is drawn to the beautiful and perfect, they make the greatest effort to do what they do well, and therefore, beautifully. If the result brings joy and satisfaction, it starts to inspire the pursuit of even greater beauty, that is, the achievement of new goals. The opposite of beauty is ugliness, deformity, and discord. If we do not like the result of our work, we will perform our task without love and joy, without putting our soul into it, and consequently, we will not find satisfaction. We most directly perceive external, visual beauty. Russian writer, poet, and philosopher Lev Obolensky believed that beauty is the most economical form of rest for the nerves. That is probably why it provides such unconscious pleasure and enjoyment. The unconscious element of enjoyment from artistic works should be attributed to the same reason. In visual perception, the sense of beauty depends on how convenient the observed line is for following the gaze. Therefore, horizontal and vertical lines seem more pleasant than inclined ones, and oval, smooth lines more than jagged ones. An irregular or sharply broken line is unpleasant to us because the eye must constantly change the direction of its gaze when viewing it. This explains why, although beauty is subjective, there are many things that almost everyone finds beautiful. For example, snowflakes. Seeing their magical symmetry, it is hard to claim that a snowflake is not beautiful. Snowflake shapes are unique, and it is practically impossible to find two identical ones. Their beauty is the result of the physical laws describing the process of water crystallization in the air. The fractal structure of snowflakes is a manifestation of the order and harmony present in our world. The further I live, the clearer it becomes to me that what is beautiful is only what is not difficult to understand. Anatole France. Good news brings honor. There are many examples of this. Human eyes will always find beauty in the surrounding world that appeared without their intervention. Beauty is an indicator of how much harmony and symmetry is present in an object or being. Therefore, it is worth doing everything we do beautifully, that is, harmoniously, simply, and elegantly. In this case, our creation will be pleasing to most people, and first and foremost, to ourselves. In general, every living being has the ability to distinguish beauty and aesthetic correctness from their opposites. Charles Darwin strongly opposed underestimating the mental capacities of animals in terms of aesthetic perception, noting that the sense of the elegant is commonly attributed only to humans. Darwin believed that the ability to perceive and feel aesthetic qualities is genetically determined in both animals and humans. It is undoubtedly true, he wrote, that the senses of humans and animals are arranged so that bright colors and certain shapes, as well as harmonic and rhythmic sounds, provide pleasure and are called beautiful, but why this is so, we do not know. Beauty is not limited to unique works of art. Research in neurology and evolutionary biology has questioned the difference between the perception of art and non-art. Neuroimaging studies have shown that brain areas responding to aesthetic stimuli from art overlap with those involved in evaluating items such as visually appealing food or physical attributes of potential partners. This suggests that the brain has a common system that determines the attractiveness of objects, whether it is a tempting piece of cake, a wonderful musical composition, or a painting. Beauty, true happiness, and genuine heroism do not need loud words. Wilhelm Raabe. Life is given for good deeds. What is beauty and why do people deify it? Is it a vessel, in which there is emptiness, or a fire, flickering in the vessel? Nikolai Zabolotsky. The fact is that enduring ideas of pleasant, attractive, and compelling, as well as unpleasant, repulsive, and frightening, emerged during the evolution of the animal world. Numerous prototypes of the sense of beauty were formed in both humans and animals as specific preferences, such as choosing a mate, shelter, or a pack. Objects that were useful were associated with certain characteristics, color, size, smell, etc. These preferences later evolved into notions of utility, suitability, acceptability, and so on, shaping our perception, anticipation, experience, and the sense of beauty over a long evolutionary process. Thus, the concept of beauty, beyond its aesthetic aspects, acquired specific practical characteristics through evolution. In any world religion, inner beauty and richness of the inner world are always considered higher and more important than other human values. In Christianity, God is revered as the source of beauty, having created our world in perfection. Sin is viewed as corruption, introducing chaos and ugliness into the divine world. The righteous is beautiful in soul, which manifests in the external world as well. The Christian tradition includes a collection of advice on spiritual perfection called Philokalia, Greek Phi Iota Lambda Omicron Kappa Alpha Lambda Alpha, which translates as love of the good or love of beauty. It is an anthology of spiritual works by Christian ascetics from the 4th to the 15th centuries. The term Phi Iota Lambda Omicron Kappa Alpha Lambda Alpha, literally love of goodness or beauty, in late antiquity and Christian literature had a broad range of meanings, with the older verb form Phi Iota Lambda Omicron Kappa Alpha Lambda Omega meaning to adorn, to arrange, to prepare, to improve, to care for, to clean, to speak elegantly. Thus, the work of spiritual transformation is equated with bringing beauty into one's life and soul. Religious notions of the importance of beauty are also reflected in the works of Fyodor Dostoevsky. His words, "Beauty will save the world," have become iconic for Russian-speaking readers. Judaism also places inner beauty first. King Solomon said, "Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised." Proverbs 31:30. At a superficial reading, it might seem that female beauty has no value, the only merit worth praising is godliness. One of the prominent spiritual leaders of Orthodox Judaism, Eliyahu ben Shlomo Zalman, known as the Vilna Gaon, asks, the Torah, speaking of righteous women such as Sarah, Rebecca, and Rachel, repeatedly mentions that they were beautiful. If female beauty has no special value, why does the Torah mention it? Therefore, according to the Vilna Gaon, female beauty is not a virtue if a woman lacks fear of heaven. However, if a beautiful woman is God-fearing, her beauty is one of the virtues that glorify her. Doing good brings joy. Beauty will save the world. Fyodor Dostoevsky. In Islam, one of Allah's names is Al-Jamil, which means the most beautiful in Arabic. The Creator loves beauty. He created this world in perfection. We have made what is on the earth an adornment for it, that we may test them as to which of them is best indeed. Quran 18:7. Humans are Allah's stewards on earth. Everything they do should be done with love and diligence. The diligence shown by a person in pursuit of beauty is a good testimony to their effort to achieve Allah's pleasure, who loves beauty. Beauty in all its manifestations is considered a blessing from the Almighty, reflecting His special favor towards mankind. Therefore, when a Muslim lives according to Allah's guidance, making their path bright and spiritually beautiful, they are rewarded by the Lord, achieving success and recognition in this life, and entering paradise in the hereafter. The central tenet of Buddhism is self-improvement through knowledge, so a person's beauty should lie in their inner perfection. External beauty is fleeting, while inner beauty remains with a person forever. This reflects pre-Buddhist views on the existence of beauty, as seen in lines from the Mahabharata. The soul has vanished, beauty has flown away, the soulless body has become ugly. Beauty is eternity lasting a moment. Albert Camus. Kind words are more valuable than wealth. Buddhism leads to happiness through mindful awareness and encourages treating one's activities as a beloved endeavor, i.e., performing them well and beautifully, fully dedicating oneself to them. Over time, you will find that you perform them better and better. Regardless of the activity, attention is the direct path to mastery. One should only approach a task with full awareness and concentration, discarding all extraneous thoughts and allowing nothing in the mind that is not directly related to the activity. In occult sciences, it is believed that ritual spaces should be beautifully, aesthetically, and rationally designed. Besides purely decorative purposes, this has a practical meaning, which includes creating a special atmosphere and indicating a specific idea. This ritual aesthetics conceals a mechanism that aids in constant concentration. The magician looks at geometric figures of certain colors, uses ritual objects, inhales incense, recites hymns and incantations addressed to a specific archetype, and invokes particular forces for assistance. All this reminds them of the idea, which is equivalent to the goal of the ritual. The physiological aspects of this method as a magical psychological mechanism are described by A. Crowley in Magic in Theory and Practice. The method resembles yogic practice, which also requires concentration on a specific idea. Beginners use dynamic meditation, i.e., imagination, to focus on a chosen idea. However, just as in meditation, one should not abuse the power and capability of imagination, which initially conflicts with the fruits of meditation. In magic, one should not overuse the concentration on external attributes of the ritual, as beauty and attributes are merely auxiliary tools for revealing the essence of a person. Beauty is eternity, lasting a moment. Albert Camus. What is a poet? A person who writes in verse? No, of course not. He is called a poet not because he writes in verse, but he writes in verse, that is, he harmonizes words and sounds, because he is a child of harmony, a poet. Alexander Alexandrovich Bloch. Certainly, beauty is a broader category than mere external attractiveness. A person, a work of art, a natural phenomenon, as well as an action, a chess move, an emotion, or a train of thought can all be beautiful. Beauty is not a phenomenon that can be comprehended by rational categories, it is always a sense of wonder and profound satisfaction when contemplating or understanding it. Beauty, like the cosmic logos, calls to people, but even when they hear it, they cannot grasp and hold it completely. What beauty is? This question invites as wide an interpretation as attempts to understand truth, eternity, faith, the meaning of life, and the purpose of humanity. I have seen beauty, but each time I could not understand what is bad and what is beautiful. William Shakespeare. Artists, as well as people in general who are involved in the arts, professionally create beauty. Who, if not they, understands the power of the impact on the human soul of the aura of a work, whether it is a painting, a statue, or a musical chord? But there is also feedback. Just as a person influences the material from which the work is created, so too does the work influence the creator, who has spent a long time crafting it. Works are created with care and skill to affirm their undeniable beauty. High quality of execution is also a separate category of beauty. Therefore, it is common to see refined, noble, and high-spirited faces among writers, artists, and composers. This reminds us of Buddhists, who believe that a person's face, external beauty, is a reflection of their mind and way of life. Such beauty is based not only on the artist's talent and effort but also on the higher aspirations of human spiritual activity, where the beauty of works becomes a category of almost religious significance. For example, Raphael's magnificent Sistine Madonna, which became a major aesthetic and religious symbol of Christianity. This altarpiece is the last of Raphael's major works dedicated to his favorite theme. Even in his early creative period, Raphael turned to the image of the Madonna with the Child, each time finding a new approach. But it was the Sistine Madonna that became the crowning achievement of the great artist, who, through meticulous work and reverence for his subject, embodied an ideal accessible to mortals. The world is not without good people. When humanity is destroyed, there is no more art. Connecting beautiful words is not art. Bertolt Brecht. Certainly, one should not equate the concepts of good and beauty. But in people's perception, they go hand in hand. A person, as a spiritual being, always strives for the highest perfection, for the highest harmony, for good and beauty. They can not only contemplate but also set them in motion, create. As Jean-Jacques Rousseau said, goodness is beauty in action. This same thought was expressed by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe: the beautiful cannot be known, it must be felt or created. The ancient Greeks also revered beauty and deified it. They created numerous beautiful works of art. But they attributed the main role in its creation to the actions of people. The statue is colored by appearance, and a person is colored by their deeds, asserted Pythagoras. Plutarch also spoke of the special property of beauty as a motivator for action. The beautiful draws to itself by its own action and immediately instills in us a desire to act. The ideal of beauty in action were heroes, children of gods, or people who attained divine status through their deeds. The Greeks saw a deep connection between beauty and goodness in heroes. The term kalokagathia, which means beautiful and good or beautiful and virtuous, referred to the harmonious combination of physical and moral qualities, the perfection of human character. A heroic deed is the highest form of kalokagathia, the maximum manifestation of human beauty and goodness in action. Only a bee knows the hidden sweetness in a flower, only an artist senses the trace of the beautiful in everything. Afanasy Afanasovic FET. A good deed lives for 2 centuries. A good deed does not sink in water. Hurry to do good, while evil will come of itself. Greek heroes created their own special world, also filled with magnificence and splendor. Gods made their favorites especially beautiful, as Athena did with Odysseus, cloaking him in charm and making him literally shine with beauty. A special, intimately warm feeling binds the goddess to this great imaginative and long-suffering wanderer. Athena, one might say, admires Odysseus as a product of her own learning. If even the gods were so enthralled by their students, what can be said about the people for whom they performed their deeds? The names of heroes were crowned with immortal glory, songs were composed about them, and they were worshipped as deities. Popular wisdom, embodied in fairy tales and legends, long ago noted the inseparable connection between beauty and goodness in the actions of characters. A beautiful act is usually a good act, which helps to change external circumstances for the better, bringing joy to people, and for which the hero eventually receives a reward. People always react positively to beauty. We are captivated by beautiful music, a breathtaking view from a window, an enchanting dance, and much more. Time seems to stand still, and we feel as if we are outside of it. At the moment when we contemplate or create something good and beautiful, our brain centers responsible for attraction are automatically activated. We experience joy and euphoria from both the beauty of the object and the result of our actions. And because our brain tends to get accustomed to pleasure, we literally get addicted to regular doses of beauty. Without it, we feel uncomfortable and will even subconsciously seek a source to satisfy this desire. Scientists at the University of Oslo, Norway, have established that the human brain responds to attractiveness with the same areas as to opioids. Accordingly, listening to beautiful music, reading a good book, or admiring well-executed work brings emotional and physical pleasure and can also cause addiction. Beauty, as an external source, helps a person become better and more harmonious. There are even successful attempts to treat with beauty through musical works or paintings. Good deeds are remembered well. Children should live in a world of beauty, play, fairy tales, music, drawing, fantasy, and creativity. Vasily Sukhumlinsky. We strive to do everything in the best and most beautiful way, and this will certainly lead to the fact that we ourselves will like it, and as a result, a persistent inner need to act this way again and again will emerge. Moreover, a successful result will be noticed and positively assessed by others, who, along with us, will derive pleasure from it. And what could be better than giving joy to oneself and others? Erase the random traits and you will see, the world is beautiful. Alexander Alexandrovich Bloch.